Finding that first client is one of the biggest barriers that most people see when they contemplate stepping into the consulting world, particularly if they're not comfortable marketing themselves. But when you understand that most of those initial clients will come from the pool of people that you already know from previous work, it gets a lot less scary. And in fact, most of them will probably find you before you find them. When you decide to step into that world of contracting or consultancy, the most important burning question of all, of course, is how do I find my first client? Do I set up a website or a Facebook page or advertise in the newspaper? What do I do? Well, the answer to that is you don't find clients. They find you. In this industry, like so many others, that old adage of it's who you know, not what you know, is just as applicable here. And for that reason, before you make that jump, you have to have developed a network of contacts, people who know what you do and know that you're good at it. And for me, that just happened automatically because I kept taking contracts. But if you've been in the corporate world for a while and you're going to make that jump, it can be relatively difficult to have a large enough network to get clients before you jump. So a kind of springboard on the way for a lot of people is to join a contracting agency. That does two really good things. Number one, it gets you lots of short jobs with a lot of different clients, so you get to see a lot of different deposits or different styles of work and different operating systems, and you learn those things so that you're prepared for them when they come with a different client. And secondly, and most importantly, you meet a lot of people that will one day become your future clients. People don't stay in the same job forever. They move from company to company and they move up the corporate ladder into positions where they hire people. And when they're ready to hire, nobody looks up on the internet, searches for geologist or geophysicist or whatever, and then searches through the CVs to see whether they're good or not. Nobody does that. They have a job that they need doing. Let's say they need to map a VMS deposit. Then if they don't know someone who does that, they call their mates and say, who do you know that maps VMS deposits? And sooner or later, they'll get a contact and that person will call you. That's how jobs happen. So the most important thing is to develop that network of contacts of people who know what you do. So working for a contracting agency for a couple of years is a really good thing. They take a big slice out of your pay, but the value from that is that huge network of contacts that you'll develop, and those contacts will become your client base in the future. Okay, so having gone through all the business setup and got the systems working and everything, the big question and fear for most people is, how do I find that first client?
Well, I'd say the first client found me. It was actually the other way around. I just wanted to get back from a holiday. I didn't even want to think about it. And in that time frame, I actually had a few people go, oh, I heard you're thinking about potentially starting your own thing, and you might be available. Would you mind helping us? And there was, and at the time I didn't mind what sort of work it was, because I just wanted to get started and see whether I can actually get this off the ground.
And how did those people know you?
So through contacts, and I think that's still the case. With any client now, most of the jobs come out of, I've heard about you and people recommend you. Also, one of the earlier clients was a result of going to things like mining lunches and networking events, conferences, usually not the geology conferences, more like the investor type conferences. So that's very helpful. It might not turn out into work straight away, but maybe down the line, maybe half a year, they remember you and go, I met her. How about I reach out? And that's basically how it's been starting. And people who've worked with in the past, and they go, hey, are you interested?
That's certainly been my experience, that every single client I've ever had is as a result of someone I've worked with before, or someone who knows that person I've worked with before, and they've asked their friends, you know, oh, we need someone to do some mapping. Do you know someone? And they go, oh, this Nick Tate fella, give him a ring. You know, he's worked for us before. It's the devil you know. That's an extremely powerful thing in this industry. A couple of times when things were going really bad, the industry was down, I actually tried advertising, in those days in newspapers and magazines and journals. I didn't get a single job out of that. It just doesn't work in this industry. The only thing that works is knowing clients and clients knowing you. Did you ever advertise or do some self-promotion directly trying to get clients that way?
I have recently put a couple of ads out on AIG, but I've asked other consultants, to be honest, oh, have you put advertisement out, is it worthwhile? And most responses I get is probably not.
I set up a website when the web got popular, and I found it just wasn't very useful. It never drew any clients directly. Nobody searched the internet, found my website and called me up for a job to do. What it was good for was I put my CV up there, and it made an easy place for people to go and download that CV. If they wanted some more information about me when they called me, then that was a place for them to start. But it never happened the other way round. They always called me first and then went to the website. Of course, the web is now much less popular, and Facebook and other social media have become the media of choice for people to share their information. Again, I found the same thing. People don't go there first, but if you set one up, or YouTube like I'm using, then it's a good place for people to go and see what you do after they've contacted you.
But I think one other thing is obviously LinkedIn, as you would know, very much so. Now that I'm probably a few years in, I can put a few case studies together, and I'm thinking to put them on LinkedIn, and I heard that works really well.
LinkedIn, I had an account for years, but I basically never used it, mostly because I just didn't know how it functioned until I started doing YouTube videos, and then I was just using it to promote YouTube. But what I didn't realise was that, in fact, that was a massive increase to my profile, the number of people that knew my face. And as we said, it's the devil you know. When people feel they know you because they've seen your articles on YouTube or on LinkedIn, you know, those case study type of things, those I've found are extremely useful. And now they are actually drawing in perhaps as much work as previous contacts, just because even if people don't know me directly, they know me in inverted commas. I've actually had people ring up and say, you don't know me, but I feel like I know you, for all those reasons.
But I do feel that conferences and networking events are really, really important. And again, they might not turn into work straight away, but if people hear your name from multiple sites, and then maybe an advertisement plays into it as well, because they see you, this is the same, same name. I've met her there. Oh yeah, maybe next project we can see whether she's available.
So, for that same reason, they know your face. They've seen you face to face, and they're actually more important than YouTube or anything, is actually meeting you, shaking your hand. That makes a heck of a difference, I've found. Did you find any particular challenges with being a woman making that jump into the consulting world?
I thought that question might come. As I said earlier, there is not as many women out there independently, I'd say. That could be a factor of that in general. There's probably still less women out in the industry.
I think you're right, though. The ratio of males to females inside corporate geology is probably a lot more level than it is in the consulting world.
Yeah, that's true.
Did you find any particular resistance with new clients, for example?
Look, I think it could have been a factor of, for some reason, everyone thinks I'm much younger than I am. I did feel initially that people do underestimate the experience I've had. Yes, it hasn't been 30 years, but 15 is it's a decent amount of experience. But I did find that once I start talking to potential new clients, they realize, oh, well, actually, sounds like she knows a bit about it. And it has frustrated me in the past where I thought, why do people always think, is that because I'm a woman that, you don't have the skills, or is that just the age, and people aren't used to having someone, usually at my age, there aren't many consultants around, so that could be also a factor. So I wouldn't say that's just because I'm a woman.
So age is probably as much or more of an issue than gender in your particular case. And like you, I always looked a lot younger than I was, and obviously I was actually pretty young in the first few years of my career. But again, it was all about people recommending from previous jobs, so they didn't care if I looked like a polar bear. One of their mates told them that I did a good job, and that was good enough for them. So again, I guess it depends how those clients come. If they're cold calls and it's a woman on the other end of the phone, it might be a different story.
That's exactly right. That's what I found. When it's clients who were, they had someone who recommended me from a previous job, I never had that feeling, ever.
When you've found a client and done a job for them, the next big hurdle is getting paid for all your hard work. In the next episode, we'll look at some ways to make sure that your invoices get paid on time and what to do when things get tricky.